about time we do away with Kera and just move the money to the counties.
Chair, just one word. My late boss used to push very strongly for devolution, that all functions should actually be devolved, and it is one of the things that we agreed on in the MOU. But according to him, the reason why the national government doesn't want to let go of those functions is control of the resources. It's the money, because they are the ones who determine those contractors. I hear they give friendly members of parliament some of those contracts to execute. Of course, people like myself will never see any of those contracts. But it is about control of the resources. So if we are going to have an honest conversation in this country about devolution, you first of all have to have a national leadership that believes in this thing called devolution. No people will go around saying that counties don't have capacity to be able to do these things. Thank you, Chair.
Governor?
Honorable Chair, you see the problem here is classification of roads. Which road is for Kenya Roads, Kenya Rural Boards Authority, and which ones are county? They have never done that. The three roads that that have been mentioned by the auditor, Masandare Junction or Olunga Senda, that cost us about 82 million. These are roads that I have tarmac, and the auditor can confirm that I have finished and actually commissioned that road. The other one is Narok Junction, which actually connects also the Narok Center. And the most important one is Mara University Road. These three roads as long as I remember, and I know the senator from Narok also remember, these are roads that have always been maintained by the former defunct county council. And you follow suits. Even the 10 years of the former governor, they have always maintained those roads. So when I came in, they were really in bad to the main road. When you talk about Narok, it's a road that connects between the highway. Wheat farmers, potatoes farmers bring their produce. So when that road is not maintained, I'm waiting for the national government to do anything if they have ever done for 2 or 3 years. I mean, there was a lot of outcry because farmers will not move their produce from one place to another. So for me, I think, and I think the auditors will agree with me because they have visited there, kilometers, another one is 2 kilometers, and I
close this. In terms of Kera, Kura, Kenha work plan, annual work plan, to what extent are you involved as a county government of Narok?
We are not involved.
So even Kera that is working on county roads does not involve you in their annual work plan for roads?
Mostly they talk to the MPs.
We have to change that.
They talk to the members of National Assembly. But you are the governor. These are county roads. So why are your colleagues in Mombasa, in Kilifi gossiping instead of dealing with these things? Surely.
Chair, maybe to assist the governor, which I rarely do, is that when you have that discussion, can you believe every member of National Assembly is given a free money by Kera of 40 million and another special allocation called special funds to choose their road of their wish? So I agree, Governor, even when we were having debate on road maintenance levy fund, and unfortunately the former chair of budget was saying what Sifuna is saying now, because he was on this other side, is they insisted that you do not have capacity to manage these funds, even constructing terminals within our centers. So, Chair, when they are doing budgeting by the National Assembly, they ensure they ring-fence this money in Kera for their eating.
That's why we had a long fight on RMLF.
Correct.
I don't know whether some of us were in the mediation committee on this thing of RMLF, and it's still an outstanding matter. So, Governor, our message to you and our message to your colleagues, there are so many things that we can talk about. instead of gossiping and mudslinging. This is a matter that the Senate would definitely stand with counties. I mean, it's shocking to hear that you are the owner of the county roads, work is being done on the county roads,
You have no clue.
but you have no clue. Senator Spooner.
Chair, the most heartbreaking conversation in the context that we found ourselves this morning is that the Council of Governors came and gave us as a Senate certain assurances. They said that in this war on RMLF, we were going to be together until the end. You know, some of us don't like people who tell us we can go to war together. Then when the going gets tough, you cut deals behind the tent. We were very shocked, Governor, when a visit to a popular address in Nairobi ensured that the Council of Governors abandoned us in the fight for RMLF. Yes. They gave us assurances here that on this one we will be with the Senate until the end. Sasa saile tuko kwa hiyo vita, when we turn back, the governors have disappeared. They have gone to Kilifi to gossip about the Senate.
It's unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. Senator Ledam?
Now, I just want to tell Sivuna, when you enter manicured lawns, you started marrying the manicure lawns and you forget what took you there.
I think let's be careful. We might wake up Senator Cherarki. He might start defending the indefensible. Now, we must...
Unfair.
We must,
what I always defend is defendable.
We must make some progress. And I think to tie the two issues, there are the broad policy issues where the Senate is making a commitment that it does not matter whether the governors are interested or not. We are doing this for the people. We must fast track the legislation that brings county roads under the control of governors, and resources for that should also be brought to governors. But on the specific audit issues, because the last time we queried this matter of equipment purchase, it was not clear whether all the equipment had been delivered. We are asking the Auditor General to confirm that what was ordered, the LSOs, the LPOs, has been delivered. And perhaps it's 120 equipment. It might not be possible to, it's not just about a paper comparison, but we can have the Auditor General maybe go back and confirm physically. And that can be done within that implementation time frame. Let's have the assurance that what was ordered has been delivered. We keep it in view so that we can do an impact analysis, a value for money analysis. And if it's positive, then this is a very strong case to argue for the disbandment of KERA, because we shall demonstrate that counties have the capacity to do their roads. Members, I want us to enter into the receiver of revenue because Narok is one of the counties with high revenue potential. Of course, the potential is higher than what they are currently collecting. I think in terms of ranking, Nairobi leads. Did Kiambu overtake Narok? Senator Karungu Wazangu on source revenue? Okay, because I can see Narok is at 5.9 billion. Is that the second highest ROR? Parliamentary Budget Office? Just check on ranking. So with such a high revenue collection, we definitely must look at the details.
Yes, Chair.
It was second.
I think third after Nairobi and Kiambu.
After Nairobi and Kiambu. Who is the receiver of revenue? Receiver of revenue, we now want to look at your report. Maybe you need to sit there in front. Because you are responsible for the collection of 5.9 billion. That's bigger than the budget of Tharaka-Nithi. That one gentleman. Yeah.
Chair, maybe Salat, you can tell us the revenue potential of Narok should be how much?
8.5 billion.
8.5 billion.
Yes.
This after the transfer back of Masai Mara or before?
What do you mean transfer back? What do you mean transfer back?
After, I thought the national government was collecting.
National government can never collect now.
That applied to Kajiado.
Oh, Kajiado, sorry. It's Kajiado, sorry.
So what did you say is the OSR potential?
8.5 billion.
8.5 billion. So receipt of revenue, we are looking at your report. You will have to make a few explanations before we go to the details in the audit report. From the analysis by the Parliamentary Budget Office, cess dropped by 40 million. Can you explain? That's why we called you to the front. You are the receiver of revenue.
Through the chair, my name is CPA Moses Mitchell, the receiver of revenue. During the year under consideration, the sales dropped from 209, 520, 729 to 164, 249, 056, translating to 45 million. We attributed this decrease to
Yeah, and I hope PBO you circulated this schedule to the members so that they can follow.
Can you give it to them as well?
No, he has his numbers tie exactly with what I have, so I'm not worried.
attributed this decrease by one, what was happening within the county. That was Transmara section, that is Transmara East, West, and South. We had insecurity there and actually affected the sales collection. Again, during the year, we experienced adverse weather conditions. For poor infrastructure, I know the governor is addressing it the way he presented.
So those events, which type of sales did they affect? Because you have farm produce, quarrying, livestock, and other, and sand sales. Which line is this that dropped by 45 million?
Sheep and goat collection, cattle sales, and also agricultural produce. In Transmara, we do collect sales for sugarcane and tea. So
how did insecurity contribute to the 45 million drop? You know, these are numbers. 45 million is probably, is that 30%?
Yeah, maybe
30% drop.
Maybe I can explain, Chair, that when we had that insecurity issue, it affects the sale yard. Normally, during the peaceful time, everybody bring their their livestock to sell in a sale yard. So when the livestocks, if the people don't bring livestock to the sale yard, then there is no sales.
What was the duration of that incident?
It took almost about, I think that time it took about 3 or 4 months. But it affects because, you see, markets are many. There are more than 5 markets or 4 markets in a week. So the moment you don't, get the sales of these livestock, then it will drop. The same thing applies to, foods. When you talk of a market is where everybody brings their goods and services to sell. So once those people don't meet because of insecurity, then you can see that the revenue clerk will come home zero.
Okay,
so in about 3 months, then it will take.
Governor, you have gone on record on that. Let's go to land rates. It dropped by 8 million, from 18 million to 10 million.
Yes, through the chair. Also, land rates, we do have a system collecting revenue at the other side of Transmara. Also, the same was affected by the same. And again, largely, there was the issue of enforcement. And actually, my boss, the CC Finance, took action. One director was employed to see that all land rates outstanding arrears are collected in time.
Senator Sifuna?
I wish there was a document that could confirm that the things we're being told are actually factual. Because we're going to blame everything on Transmara. If you had a granular table, you would be able to confirm what the CEO is telling us. But personally, I don't trust that land rates can be affected by the state of insecurity. Do you have, the governor has explained about the need for physical movement of animals to markets. But how is that the same for land rates?
Through the chair, we normally have monthly meetings for revenue monitoring.
At the meetings in Transmara?
No, at Narok. And we can provide progress reports on each and every revenue stream on monthly basis.
But what Senator Sifuna is saying is that your explanation does not add up for land rates. It could apply to cess, but not land rates.
Can I just get some clarity on this issue of land rates? I know, being the senator for Narok, there was an issue of court cases that was affecting the payment of plot rents versus plot rates.
Correct.
When we move into the issue of municipality.
Correct.
Now, I'm also aware that there is a municipality of Narok and municipality of Kilgoris.
Yes.
Now, I'm looking at this report. And of course, I've tied in the sales and the market. Those ones make sense.
Yes.
This issue of land rates, was it affected by that court case, or is that case, maybe Governor, you can tell us, has that issue of courts been cleared, or the business community is still not paying rates because of the way they went up?
Absolutely, you are right, Senator, and thank you for reminding me, because that is a big issue. The issue is actually the court cases that is ongoing. And some of these people who went to court because of the issue of municipality are not paying anything up to now, because, again, the case is in court. And that one I can provide the court case that is still there. But, of course, Senator, so that you can appreciate, these rural counties, anything about peace, it's like Nairobi. When there is mandamano, probably nobody goes to the shop. And land rate also was affected completely. And I remember that in that particular year, we had so many issues in Transmara, whereby people just don't want to pay any land rates.
Governor, maybe you don't need to repeat your explanation. Let's go to single business permit. Again, drop from 70 million to 64. A 6 million drop.
9%.
I hope this is not Transmara again.
Yeah, through the chair, the 9% drop from 70 million to 64 million, I attribute this to what happened at Masai Mara. There was flooding during that particular year, and a good number of hotels were not able to pay. I think a good number of hotels were temporarily closed, and that affected the revenue
I
collection.
thought this is an annual permit, Governor.
It is annual.
When do people pay for single business permit in Narok?
Between January and March.
So when are the
So
rains?
when there is flooding, you don't pay your business permit?
We're talking about hotels, Senator, hotels that are around Masai Mara and even the environs. You know, the whole area was affected. You know, there was flooding. I don't know whether you saw that, you know, we had to send choppers.
It was in which month?
It was all over.
month?
Yes. Around, I think it was around February, March.
February, March.
Let me just for
Stories,
comparison.
I really
For
I really
comparison,
don't-
for comparison purposes, and I know this summary was prepared by our parliamentary office. Do you have the budget for Narok County for 2025-2026? So we can be able to see the estimate in terms of this revenue. Is that budget in existence? Or do you have it here?
Yes, you do.
Chair, maybe Governor, through the chair. or-
Maybe let them answer that specific one. Then
Let me check whether we have the budget. We have it here or no? We have not annexed, but we can provide that.
Okay, just to run through the schedule, and then we go to the. So again, market fees from 13 million to 9 million. Is it the same story, Ajaba?
Yes, through the chair, the same story.
Advertising
Jaba.
from 10.4 million to 9.8 million.
Through the chair, on advertising, I attribute it to compliance, at the level of compliance at Narok municipality. The same is handled by the new director.
I think, honourable members, my feeling is like we are being treated to a lot of stories on this. A lot of
No,
Chair, can I
even
say
if there is
something
flooding in the
before
first quarter, my assumption is that hotel, after the flooding in the first quarter, still operated the 9 months that remained. Were they operating without a license? And I've seen here, even Chair, you'll see the most worrying thing about ONSO's revenues in counties, which we will come to, the hospital fees. I'm sure they'll tell us the hospital fees went up because we were treating victims of flooding.
Chair, can I say something? Because you had given me mic before you come on
Okay,
board.
Senator Sharage.
Chair, I think, Chair, my own request is that looking at the revenue potential of Narok was 8.5 billion, but they end up collecting 5.9 billion. that is a variation of 2.6 billion. We have listened to explanation of about less than 100 million. So even if you are to remove the missing of target, it becomes to 2.5 billion Kenya shillings that you did not collect, Governor. So my question to you, Governor, and I put it to you, what made you miss this target? Is it unrealistic? Was there revenue leakages? Chair, finally, looking at the receiver of revenue of Narok, there is an ICT committee, we have been doing revenue audit systems. There is a lot of issues of possibility of leakages of revenue and non-efficiency and even lack of valuation role. My own position, Chair, looking at the time, and there is SBC, and I know the leader would want to attend, can we do an independent engagement based only on on-source revenue? Because I have seen there are so many issues that are related to IT, related to collection, so that we can confirm whether these floods happen. Because,
Okay,
Chair, for
I
example,
think the point is made. You have said because of time.
Okay.
Now, Governor, you are saying you are not collecting single business permit because of flooding, but anyway, I think let Senator Karuko first.
Yeah,
go.
just to enhance your point and agree with you, Chair, that they lost revenue because of insecurity and flooding. I would like you to note number 8 of the table, physical planning and development. It went up by 2. So, Chair, you question people really developed during flooding and insecurity because it went up by 2. So this is to show that on one side, they're saying they never collected this because of insecurity and flooding, but on this other issue, there was a lot of development even with that insecurity and flooding.
And further to that, you are talking of floods, etc., hotels out of operation, but your park fees grew by 1.1 billion, which indicates that the sector was booming. And then, therefore, there should be a relationship between that growth of 1.1 billion and the business permits. Because if it was that bad, then this line on park fees would not have grown from 4.3 to 5.4 billion.
Chair, I agree with the Senator that you see that is only two sub-counties that were affected. But the other areas we are doing very well because we didn't have all these clashes. Secondly, Chair, about the park fee, there's a difference between, a whole season. For example, during a low season, that was between January to around April. Of course, we were affected. But during high season, there were so many guests that visited Masai Mara, particularly high season from people from the US.
And the hotels reopened?
Well, actually some, but some did not, because it took time for them to really rebuild again. I don't know whether...
Sifuna, does that answer your curiosity? Or it makes it worse?
It is making it worse, Chair. I can confirm I'm getting more confused.
Yeah, because they're saying the facilities were opened later, and your question was, when they were opened later, shouldn't they have paid for it? Now, we are going through this exercise to demonstrate to you that you must put in place stricter, stronger controls and more regular reviews, because you are over-relying on park fees and hospital fees. The rest of the revenue streams are either underperforming or are remaining static. And yet we can see the economic activity in Narok. I think your senator is a big advocate of Narok. He tells us how Narok money is coming in. When you see Art Cafe, when you see KFC, when you see Carrefour come into a place, you know that there's money. But with that growth, we do not see it here in your receipt of revenue statements.
Perhaps, Chair, the governor can address us on these hospital fees. In the financial year, your hospital fees grew by almost 100 million shillings, from 59 million to 152. What pandemic is responsible for this, Governor?
First of all, Senator, when I came in, we built a number of other dispensaries from, all over the county. I built more than 70 health centers. Number two, Senator, we also introduced a new system whereby it was very, good for us that it can report on time. So that is what happened. And I can tell you that, when I came in as a governor, and it's good that I mentioned this, the county government of Narok, we used to collect about between 1.3 to 1.5 billion shilling in 2022-2023. But when I came in, look at 1.2 to 1.3 billion shilling. But when I came in, look at what I have done. I have now grown the own source revenue from 1.2 to 5.9. And in fact, our focus, or rather our target for next year is around 6.5 to 7 billion. Meaning that we continue to work on these other source of revenue instead of just, depending on the Masai Mara. Of course, Masai Mara is one of our big source of revenue, but yet when you look at the systems and what we have been doing, we are doing at least the 8.5. I don't know whether we'll ever be there, but we are somewhere around 7.
Governor, how many collectors of revenue do you have for park fees? Collectors of revenue. The receiver of revenue designates collectors of revenue.
Most caps.
It's only one.
Is it two? The one.
It is only one.
Two actually. Two.
Caps and
Jumbo Pay.
And Jumbo Pay.
Yes.
Now the Auditor General has queried over reliance on a service provider.
Yes.
Can we go to that specific matter in the receiver of revenue report and see whether that is giving value to the county? Over reliance on a service provider in the receiver of revenue statement. Auditor General, read your finding.
Thank you, Chair.
In the ROR, it is under lawful? It's on controls, effectiveness of internal controls. County over reliance on the service providers. Number 8 on the ROR. Yeah. Auditor General, are you there?
Yes, Chair.
Fine. Read your finding.
Review of records and revenue collection systems revealed that the county government relies heavily on the service provider to manage and administer its core revenue collection systems. Key functions such as system maintenance, data management, user support, and security monitoring are almost entirely outsourced, with limited internal capacity for oversight and continuity in the event of service provider failure. It was also observed that the county doesn't have mechanisms to ensure the completeness and accuracy of the revenue collected. In the circumstances, the over-reliance on the service provider exposes the county government to risks of revenue loss, manipulation, or service interruption in the event of provider failure or non-performance. Thank you, Chair.
Governor, your response?
Thank you, Chair. I'll give this to the County Secretary to go through that.
Honorable Chair, the county government has its own employees who manage the automated revenue collection system as system administrators with key roles of managing user accounts, system access, system monitoring, and providing technical support to users. The county system administration is also able to configure Finance Act services and charges in the system. Is able to access system reports for huge data. Plans are underway to roll out an advanced version of the systems which avails the huge reports without requesting from the service providers. Other roles like server management, system backups, and firewalls are managed by the service provider as per the service level agreement. Thank you.
Now, two questions that are not coming out clearly. Who is the service provider? And what is the automated revenue collection system referred to here?
Honorable Chair, we don't have a single service provider because we have a receiver of revenue for park fees. We have a different receiver of revenue for other revenue streams, like the market produce, like the livestock. And
so there are two?
Yes, there are two. Yes.
So mention them. Who are the two service providers?
For the park fees, it is CAPS, and for the other revenue streams, it's Jumbo Pay.
So when you say that the employees manage the automated revenue collection system, are your employees the ones managing the CAP system or managing the Jumbo Pay system?
For the Jumbo Pay, it's actually our employees who are managing, but for CAPS, it's a hybrid system.
What do you mean by hybrid?
Some of our employees can access the system as administrators.
But the auditor said the county does not have mechanisms to ensure the completeness and accuracy of the revenue collected. Now, that's a very, very worrying statement. As you've said, for Jumbo Pay, you have visibility, but it collects probably less than 10% of your revenue. Most of your revenue is collected in CAPS.
Yes.
In CAPS, are the figures, the revenue collected, verifiable, auditable, and visible to your staff, or you rely on reports from the service provider?
I think the amount of revenue collected is only varied because the park fees are our anchor stream, but the CC Finance, as the administrator, the chief administrator, can confirm that he has access to the reports that are generated from the CAPS.
No, we are talking about visibility of the back end. It's not about the report. I think that's what the Auditor General is, because the back end can be amended. CC Finance.
Yeah, the CC can confirm.
CC Finance, do you know how to write an SQL script?
Yes. Yes.
You can do an SQL script.
I can, but I'm not.
Can you do an SQL script?
I cannot do on the CAPS.
No.
Yeah.
Can you do an SQL script?
No, I cannot.
Do you understand what SQL means?
Yes, I do understand.
What does it mean?
It means that you can be able to change the.
What is SQL?
You can be able to change the codings on the.
SQL means structured query language.
Yes.
It is a language that is used to query databases.
Yes.
To amend databases. It is one that at IBC you can use to insert numbers or to delete numbers.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what Jose Camargo was doing. So you are saying you are the administrator of the system. What guarantee are you giving us that when you get a report saying that you collected 5 billion, these guys did not collect 6 billion?
What I'm saying, Chairman, is that I can be able to view what has been collected, but I cannot be able now to query most of what happens at the back end.
So what the auditor says is true, that you don't have mechanisms to ensure the completeness and accuracy of the revenue collected.
Basically,
what we do, Chairman.
Just 1 minute. Yes. Basically, you have put all your trust and faith in the system.
What we do, Chairman, is simply like this. We have also our clerks at the gates, who does the counting of all the guests that are coming in and verify with the what has been input into the system.
Chair, could I ask this question, maybe so I can understand? Yes. The auditor has outlined one very critical issue of a reliance on this service provider. Governor, are you telling us that in Narok we do not have the capacity to have our own service provider, our own system, not service provider, but our own system that we can be able to support? Because the concerns that I know my colleagues are raising is on this issue where you say other roles like server management, system backup, and firewalls are managed by the service provider. Can't we? Are you telling us that we are not able to, as Narok County, to have our own system?
In fact, Senator Ledama, you raised an important point. Okay. Just try to tie this. How much money do these people make in terms of a percentage of the collection?
It's 5.5%, 6.5%.
6.5%
of the total amount.
Deducted at source?
No, we have to pay them.
So the first,
all the money is collected, yes, CRF, and then they come and invoice us, and then we pay.
Yeah, but if you don't have access to the back end, then there's no way you can say with certainty that the 5 billion they swept is what they collected.
Let me explain this because maybe we are not getting it what normally happens. So this is a pack where, guest comes on a daily basis. So we have our own administrators. We have the clerks for the cups, and we also have our own clerks to count and check how many guests have come to the park, for example, a day. So they do reconciliation every week. Whatever amount that has been, reconciled, that is how much they pay every end of the month, or, the agreement is very specific. So in terms of how do we verify, we can verify because we have our own people. Actually, the administrator can, they can get all the information from this system. And there's nothing that they hide because, it's open for everybody to see.
The point that your senator was making is that if you had your own system, you would have both the visibility that the chair and the auditor desires, and you would have all this money that you're paying to the service provider available for you to be able to do other things. I don't know if my math is right, Chair, but at 6.5%, you're paying these guys 390 million shillings per year. That is more than the money you spend on the roads, Governor. That's the point your senator is making. You would have that 400 million shillings to be able to service your equipment.
Let me explain this because you're right, Senator Sifuna. When I came in, we had an agreement with the CAPS by the former administration. And now, actually, we are having a process of having our own, system because all counties are going, that route, that you have your own system so that you can save yourself that amount of money that you are paying a service provider like CAPS. So, indeed, we didn't want to interfere with, the agreement because there were clauses that are very punitive in nature. That, if you are to if you are to do this, there are so many things. And I think the senator for Narok know that issue that went to court, and I think they are still having some issues. But now we have all agreed that going forward, we need to have our own system. In fact, there's a system that Murang'a County is using, and we think that that system is very good. We are giving other service providers to come and do, presentation, and we see the best that can now give us to collect what they are saying 8.5. We'll wish to go to 10, but again, we are developing a year by year.
But you see, even if you took a new system and you don't have visibility on the back end, you still have the same problem. For us, we want to have the assurance that everything that is collected is reported. Because we have that feeling in counties, I think counties like Nairobi, that Nairobi collects much more, but what is declared is less than the actual collection across the city. Senator...
Yes, Chair, just to add on to that, Chair, I think some of these questions we are asking maybe can be answered if the committee can be able to access the contractual agreement between the county government and the CAPS and maybe Jumbo Pay. But, Chair, I think there's nothing wrong with looking for service providers. The only issue would be, where does this money go to when they are collected? Do they go directly to the county-controlled bank account? Because if they go to CAPS, then they are forwarded to you, then there will be a problem there. But I think, Chair, if this money is collected by CAPS, but it goes direct to the county bank account, then I think we wouldn't have any problem because, of course, everything will be seen to go to the county. And also, I think the county should have a system that is integrated with this system. They can see real data as it happens. I mean, it's as easy as that, Chair.
Yeah, so we need to be careful that we are not saying go e-citizen. Someone might say that go e-citizen. But then why are you saying no? No, I mean, if there's a collection system that's working, why wouldn't you go e-citizen, or you lack control?
But have you forgotten, Chair, that e-citizen, there's somebody also who collects a fee? It's almost the same thing. the 50 shillings.
Yeah.
Okay, Senator Cherargei.
Chair, maybe Governor, I remember it's not an idle conversation, by the way. I remember, Governor, we were even discussing, if you remember, Chair, and Senator Ledama would be keen to this, is we even invited KRA. So, because we were wondering, is there a possibility of developing a KRA-like system to ensure counties correct maximum their revenue and to avoid leakages? And I remember that's a conversation we should have in terms of policy so that we can be able to seal some of these loopholes. Governor, apart from CABS, how long has been Jumbo Pay providing services? And are you aware of the track record of Jumbo Pay in some of the counties like Meru, like Busia, and a number of them? What gave you confidence to have an engagement with them? And finally, looking at these challenges that you are facing in terms of collectors and many other issues that has been noted by the OAG, do you believe this is the most efficient system, or you think you can develop? I think Narok has the best brains that can develop some of these systems that can be used to collect revenue. Because I agree with you, you should be moving to 10 billion from 8.5. But if you can ensure some of these issues are resolved, including the issue of valuation role, it would be easy.
Okay.
Chair, those would be my 3 questions.
Governor?
Thank you, Chair. On the issue of Jumbo Pay, they have only been providing us services for the last 2 years. And because actually they are managing a very small amount in terms of revenue, about 1 billion shilling. That's what they are managing. So I have not seen a problem. I have heard of it after I have already contracted with them, that they had some issues in other counties.
But you need to be concerned that all their revenue streams are dropping, despite
Correct.
all the explanations you're giving. That should be an indicator that there's a problem, because automation is supposed to increase efficiency and collection, but we are hearing a lot of stories around the streams they're managing.
I'm learning that from you, Senator, but as I said, I have not seen any problem so far. It's only 2 years they have just started. The other issue of you ask whether we can develop our own. That's what we are doing right now. Counties are going that way, that we develop our own system so that we can save the 6.5% that we are paying to the service providers.
So maybe because, Governor, you are saying you are learning from us in one of your service provider, Jumbo Pay. What is the level service agreement? Do you do review yearly in terms of year under review, the finance year, or do you do monthly? Do you do quarterly? How often do you review? And sometimes is there a downtime when this service provider, both the Jumbo Pay and CABS? Because if there are any problems that have been faced in other areas, then, and Chair has rightly observed from the document we have been given, there is a steady decline in some of the revenue streams of the provider. What is the level service
Governor?
provider saying? Service level agreements.
Yeah, we normally do quarterly.
So they are talking.
No, members, I'm convinced, and I'm doing this because of time, that we might need a systems audit in Narok. Because if you go to issue number 6, you have weaknesses in Kenya Airport's parking services system, the one that is used to collect park fees. We have just dealt with issue number 4, where there is over-reliance on a service provider. There is lack of visibility, and the Auditor General says that the county does not have mechanisms to ensure the completeness and accuracy of the revenue collected. And then the auditor goes ahead and says that there are weaknesses in the system, and erases 6.1, use of cash as a mode of payment, 6.2, services not in the County Finance Act but mapped in the CAB system, and 6.3, services incorrectly charged to customers in the law system. And all that the auditor is saying are weaknesses in the system. Now, because of time, because remember we still have to deal with Murang'a County, and by 2:30 we need to be in the chamber. Honorable members, I was proposing that we either do a systems audit or generate a few additional questions so that we can get the assurance as a Senate that this service provider is offering the best kind of service for Narok. This service provider is not collecting and under reporting, that this service provider, as raised by the Auditor General, can guarantee the completeness and accuracy of the revenue collected. I think that's something that we can do. We have the power to do so. Even if it's not today, we can direct that we field a set of questions and even invite the governor alongside CAPS, because this perhaps is the second most important revenue collection system in counties after the one for Nairobi. And I think even for Nairobi, we're in that space where we want to do a thorough systems audit. Honorable members, can that be a good way for us to deal with this? Yeah. Senator Ledama?
Oh.
I think, why don't we go through these so that we know whether it is necessary or not, to see whether, I don't know about your time, but if you look at those weaknesses, if there are any responses that can satisfy, because I think one of the key most important thing, Mr. Chairman, is that once we go through these queries, we mark them either resolved or unresolved. So that auditors, when you're carrying out your next financial year audit, you take cognizance of the issues that would have already been resolved. So if we could take a few more minutes, and I don't know whether we have the time.
I'm afraid if you were to go through the three issues and put in the questions and interrogation, we will not be able to convene for Murang'a County. So
and a system audit would be ideal.
So let's go either the system audit or prior to the system audit, just an inquiry where we are asking CAPS to come and provide those assurances.
Chair, I agree on this issue of system audit because some of these issues, one is that I think it is not only Narok. We need, like Nairobi, a number of counties. We went with you, Busia. We should sample a number of counties and request the OAG to do the system audit. Then we invite the service provider, and I think CABS, Jumbo Pay, among others, who provide revenue collection systems, including the internal revenue systems done by counties. Then when we receive the reports, Chair, then when we receive the report, if there are glaring issues, we can re-invite the client back. But if we do the system audit and those issues are resolved, then we don't need to go further. But I suggest, Chair, apart from meeting the entity, we must also meet some of these service providers like Jumbo Pay, CABS, even the internal revenue system, because we went to Trans Nzoia, the revenue was falling by 50%. Yet they were saying they changed to a better revenue collector. You go to Mombasa, Chair, I'm requesting, and even in Nairobi. In fact, Sifuna, you are aware, I don't know whether you are aware of this, that by the time the revenue report was ready to be tabled by the Speaker in the Nairobi County Assembly, it disappeared between the tabler and the Speaker's office and the chamber. So we need to do that system audit even here in Nairobi.
Okay, members, I think we now need to make some substantive progress. We would have gone through all these issues, but the headline is weaknesses in the CAP system. And if the auditor found weaknesses, there is no way the Senate can say that, no, it is not weak, it is effective. And that is how we'll report to the House, that there are weaknesses in the system, there are issues of cash handling, there are issues of mismapping of revenue streams, but we will keep this matter open until we ask the necessary questions and get the relevant answers from the county and from the service provider. Honorable members, I think the remaining issues, we will consider the written responses, and if the written responses are not adequate, then we might need to call the governor back. But I hope, Governor, in your neat set of documentation, I hope that you have attached evidence of closure of the issues that you have reported as closed. And we intend to table a report on Narok perhaps in the next 3 or so weeks before the Senate, because we have agreed that we'll be sending reports for 10 counties, batches of 10 counties. And so in the next 3-4 weeks, you'll see our recommendations, and it will be a duty to implement them. We must now bring this session to a close. Because of time, we will donate our time as senators to the senator for Narok. So, Governor, make your closing remarks, and then Senator Ledamo Lekina will speak on our behalf.
Thank you very much, Chair and Honorable Senators. I think for me, I have learned a lot from the questions that you have asked. And I will be more than ready, because at the end of the day, all of us are working for the people of Kenya to improve on systems that we have, or even any ideas that can make sure that we do what we are supposed to do. On the issue of governors not coming to the Senate, I think, Chair, I suggest that we have a meeting between the governors and the senators, the leadership, so that if there are issues, I think we can discuss and see what is the problem. Maybe it is normally good to give somebody time to explain what it is that they are having a problem, so that again you hear from their from their mouth. And then also, and I'm not saying that's why I've come here. I've come here because I have nothing to hide. I've even learned a lot from the question that you have asked, and I think my colleagues are ready to come, and most of them have come to these Senate committees. The best way to do is not what is happening right now, in my opinion. I think the Senate is a house of decorum, a house of records, and we ought to respect the Senate, and also vice versa, the senators to have respect for their governors. Because at the end of the day, all of us are serving our various counties, and we want the best for our people. I request you, Chair, and I have not been sent by the Council of Governors, but my honest opinion, that let's have a seat and just listen to each other. And I'm very sure we can solve this problem if there is any. Otherwise, today I have not seen any shouting much between the senators and myself, and I hope we continue with that. That does not mean that you have not asked me a hard question. You have, and I have taken it, as a learning process, but not as a criticism or making noise out there. I don't think TVs or anywhere will help us. What will help us is the leadership of the Senate to sit down and just have a sort of like a sit together and find out what is the issue. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We are ready for a meeting. If it's a meeting on how to move roads to counties, how to deal with KERA, how to deal with intergovernmental agreements on national government encroachment of county functions, how to empower ECD teachers, how to ensure there's water in counties, how to ensure that the health services and function is fully devolved, we are ready to have a meeting. But we don't have time to meet to gossip. Senator Ledamo Lekina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I echo your words. And in my view, let me first of all begin by thanking the Governor of Narok. Thank you for respecting me. Thank you for respecting the Senate, for having made the time to be able to come here. I'm quite impressed with the preparation of your documents. You came here ready. Of course, there are issues that needs to be dealt with, and the quality also. The quality was superb. I'm concerned a little bit about financial documents preparation in terms of giving a total summary rather than giving a detailed description. Note 32 of the financial statement on trade payables. Needs to be clearly defined and itemized so that it is easy for us to know what is old pending bills. And the reason why we are calling them now trade payables is because we've moved from the cash resolved so that it doesn't end up appearing in the next financial year as prior year matters. Now, to the issue of KERA and the issue of rural roads, I think this is an argument and discussion that we're prepared to proceed with so that we actually support our counties and send more money to the counties. I want to end by re-emphasizing on the issue that I raised earlier on in my earlier submissions, that failing to hold someone accountable is ultimately an act of selfishness. We shall continue holding the county governors accountable. They have to come to the Senate. That is not an issue of discussion. I think my views are a little bit different from the chairperson. we will not have a discussion about whether you appear in the Senate or not. Even the cabinet secretaries do appear in Parliament. That is under the Constitution. I believe it's Article 153 or 53, one of the two, 153. And when you look at our Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, Section 19, they're quite clear. This Senate has the powers. And under Article 125 of the Constitution, we have the power similar to that of the High Court. Now, don't be duped, governors, to think that you can have a collective decision and you go by it. You know, we do not have Auditor General report for 5 counties together. Unless you're saying that it is time for us to collapse the counties and make them 5 counties or 1 county. You know, these are semi-autonomous units that must be accountable for. And what Governor Ntutu you did today was to demonstrate that you are ready to adhere to a fiduciary responsibility. So I thank you for coming, and Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the way you've carried out this session. It is very different. And as your whip, trust me, I will maintain you in this committee because I see you do a good job. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I have a question to ask the governor regarding his request. I didn't mean to speak after. The leader there.
Okay, make it
very, very brief. Governor, how do people who have already decided that they will not appear before this committee ask for a meeting? What are they coming to discuss? They have already told us what they are going to do. They will not appear before PAC, and they have told us that even with PIC, they'll appear when they want. So what sort of conversation?
I had the information, then I would have understood what was the problem. The only reason why I said this, Senator, we are all leaders. And as leaders, if you see me making some statement that warrant to look like there is a big problem, then I don't think it will hurt or it will have any problem if we can just, the leadership of the Senate and the leadership of the Council of Governors, and then we iron these issues if they are, and ask ourselves questions. I'm not saying that Senator Sivuna and Kajuang that people should not come for the summons. That's why I've come. I'm leading by example.
So, Chair, he has given me an idea. Immediately, we clear with those governors who read that statement here in this committee. We can have that meeting, in my view. So our clerks should look at our schedule and front load the governor of Mandera, is it? Wajir. Yeah. And the governor of Tarakanith. We really would want to start those formal meetings with those two here first. Mm-hmm. Then we can now have the other.
Senator Sifuna, you remember the governor of Tarakanith ran away, literally.
Yeah. He needs to come back.
Unless we send Inspector General of Police to escort him back to the meeting.
I think the time we will engage with the governors collectively will be to discuss policy, constitutional and statutory challenges to devolution. And we have highlighted quite a few here. But one of the threats facing 23 counties today is drought. If you want us to be in a room, maybe call a meeting to discuss the drought situation. And then the other gossip can be AOB. But there's no way we are going to sit in a meeting with people who have demonstrated bad intent and ill will and contempt to the Senate. So we have time to discuss everything under the sky, but not time to come to a meeting ya kuwabembeleza. Hatutabembelezana. So let's all have some thick skin. We are leaders. Let's take criticism. Tulisema ukikuja mbaya, hata sisi tunapambana na wewe. If your documentation is embarrassing, we shall embarrass you. If your submission is embarrassing, we shall embarrass you. You have done well. I believe you have not been embarrassed. You have not been harassed. You have not been intimidated. You have not been humiliated. and this should be the spirit. This meeting is adjourned. We wish you a safe journey home.
There's something that I forgot, and I really wanted to thank the Senate for pushing the 450 million. I want to say that billion. Please, we are with you on that, and we want to thank you. Continue pushing this money. We need it.
Only on that. You are with us.
Only when you
when you want money, then you are with us.
That is a problem. Fine. The meeting is adjourned. We will. I think the delegation from Narok can be ushered out by the Sergeant at Arms, because we also need to convene to discuss the matter of Murang'a.
Itoni moninche to radio yero nidol ton tifini kia kilomon nito suja tem tantao nemiyolo enkati nenye omba nai maitieten gishui nena ereshata niyolo unye pokin tiatu CS CSTV tayololo boliyo tepo kirishatam. Itoni moninche to radio yero nidol ton tifini kia kilomon nito suja tem tantao nemiyolo enkati nenye omba nai maitieten gishui nena ereshata niyolo unye pokin tiatua CSTV wore CSTV neti esiana on tifini naisol tiatua olosholor Masai Tekaunti Narok, Kajiado, Sampuru, Baringo, Laikipia, Ometaba Ikolo Sholelatia, Le Tanzania, CSTV, Tayololo Boliyo, Tepo Kirishatam. Nidol ton tifini kia kilomon nito suja tem tantao nemiyolo enkati nenye